You know, King and Queen of the Ring has been quite entertaining to watch on Raw and SmackDown over the last few weeks. Some great wrestling, some great stories being told throughout the tournament that all culminated tonight in Saudi Arabia. The winners coming out of it, they're going on to SummerSlam, as we found out the other day, and overall, just a solid show that really left me with a lot of questions regarding where we're heading in the Clash of the Castle, and really just where we're heading into the summer in WWE. We will get into our King and Queen of the Ring review. First things first, we did have a kickoff show. I did not watch the women's tag team title match that was on this show because I did not watch this show live. And I honestly, we knew Bianca and Jade were winning this. It was announced last night. No point watching it. I just don't really care. You know, I didn't get to watch the show live. You think I was sitting through the kickoff? Not a chance. Let's get to the main show. We kicked off the main show with the Women's World Championship match. Becky Lynch defending against Liv Morgan. Now, if you guys watched my prediction video, you knew that this was probably the most, I mean, maybe Gunther and Randy Orton, but this was probably up there with the most 50-50 matches of the night when it came to predictability and who I thought was going to win, because I thought there was a side that Becky Lynch retained the title here and they continued Liv Morgan's chase for the title throughout the summer. Maybe it culminated at SummerSlam or something like that, or they were going to give Liv the title here and she was going to go on to fight maybe a Lyra Valkyria, who obviously came up short in the Queen of the Ring finals. We'll talk about that. That could still be in the cards, but I was really split on who was going to win this matchup. We had a solid matchup here, nothing too crazy between Becky and Liv. Honestly, from what I remember, I feel like I might have enjoyed their match they had on Raw back in like February or March. I don't know. I haven't watched it since, but I just remember feeling like, oh, this was a really solid matchup. And this one was fine. It just, I feel like a couple months ago it was better. Maybe it was the Liv heel dynamic in this one. I don't know. It was still a fine matchup. I was really just interested in the finish anyway, when Becky Lynch had Liv Morgan in the disarmor. Now, this is something we've all been talking about, is when Liv Morgan truly steals everything away from Rhea Ripley. The Women's World Championship is just the start, but dirty Dominik Mysterio is the icing on the cake. And we didn't really truly get that tonight, but we really got a step in the right direction. Becky's got Liv in the disarmor. Dirty Dom's at ringside for whatever reason, making his way out there. We saw on the kickoff show, I did see this when I was scrolling social media before 1 o'clock started, and then I stayed off until I watched. But I saw Dominik Mysterio approach Liv Morgan backstage and said, I am here to make sure you don't win the women's championship, which is a very interesting dynamic. And of course, we have seen Dominik and Liv come out of the same room in recent weeks in the backstage of other segments, in the background of other segments on Raw. We saw Liv and Finn Balor come out of the same car on Monday night. So we have seen Liv Morgan maybe kind of in the Judgment Days here. You know, they're teasing a little bit, but clearly, again, tonight was more just a step in that direction, opposed to, here we go, Dom is with Liv. Dom trying to stop, as far as we know, quote unquote, Liv Morgan from winning the Women's World Championship. He slides a steel chair into Becky Lynch. Now, Dom, in storyline perspective, should know better. Becky Lynch isn't going to use the steel chair, but did he really put it in there to help Becky Lynch, or did he really put it in there to help Liv Morgan, who of course DDT'd Becky Lynch on the chair while Dom was distracting the referee? She hit the Oblivion, and Liv Morgan wins the Women's World Championship with some collusion in there, with some outside interference, but wins the title nonetheless. And one thing we said in the prediction video is maybe Dominik was going to get involved in this. Nobody on the Judgment Day was assigned on this card, but maybe Dominik was going to make his way out there. And of course, we were calling for more of a, more of a split, Dominik siding with Liv fully, but I like this way better. Take us for the ride. Dominik Mysterio, at least as far as he makes it seem, didn't mean to help Liv win the title. But 2 months from now, 3 months from now, when I think the Judgment Day is a little bit more disbanded, and when we're getting close to Rhea Ripley returning, Dom and Liv are going to be standing side by side. And Liv is truly going to have taken everything away from Rhea Ripley. And I think they might even wait till Rhea's back. And not, keep teasing it, but wait until Rhea Ripley's truly back. Maybe the night of her return, and that's where Dom shows his alliance, and maybe he's, distracting Rhea while Liv comes up and attacks her from behind, and then Dom and Liv are standing over a fallen Rhea Ripley. Like, whatever's going to happen when it happens, but Liv wins the Women's Championship. I'm all about that. She finally defeats Becky Lynch on top of Monday Night Raw. I'm very much excited to see where the stuff with her and Dom goes, because you know there's going to be a follow-up. And then on top of that, you guys have been hearing me talk about, you know, Liv, Becky, Lyra, Damage Control. Like, Raw has a solid group of women at the top, or at least nearing the top of that division. And all those women are going to be surrounding that championship over the next few months. I could definitely see Liv defending it against Lyra. Maybe not so soon after Lyra lost tonight, but definitely down the line, I could see that matchup. Liv and Becky, I'm sure they are going to run it back. Raw Women's Division's got some good stuff going on. Some interesting stories, in my opinion. But of course, the icing on the cake of it all is Liv and Dom. And after tonight, and Liv winning the Women's World Championship, good stuff, because we are heading in the right direction. Next up, we move on to the triple threat for the Intercontinental Championship. Sami Zayn defending against Big Bronson Reed and Chad Gable. And of course, as we discussed in the prediction video, the biggest thing coming into this matchup was really just advancing the Sami Zayn-Chad Gable feud without Chad Gable getting pinned. And on top of that, further separating Chad from Alpha Academy and eventually aligning him with the Creed brothers. Not that we saw them tonight, but you know that is coming. Before we even get to the real storyline elements and the result and where things are heading, what a freaking triple threat match, man. I think we all expected this one to be stellar, but they all had their shine. Big Bronson Reed especially. Like, I think coming in, as I said in my prediction video, he was kind of just here to take the pinfall so Chad Gable can lose this matchup without having pinned and being pinned and can continue his chase of the Intercontinental Championship. But even in defeat, Bronson Reed looking like a beast throughout this matchup. Really three spots in particular, if I can get it out. One, the moonsault that obviously he missed, and then Chad Gable hit one of his own. Freaking awesome spot. There was the spot with Chad Gable. I guess this is more Chad Gable's spot, but still, everybody looked cool. Chad Gable German suplex and Bronson Reed, and then Reed hitting the German on Sami Zayn. Another great spot, and then Reed doing the suicide dive to the outside on Gable and Sami Zayn. I love Bronson Reed. He's been one of my favorites for quite some time, and you know, again, I really think he was just in here to take the pin, but hopefully he's going to get his day as an Intercontinental Champion, a United States Champion, or whatever it's going to be. But down the line, I want to see the big man with some gold. I love Bronson Reed. I love me some of the different guys, the big dudes on the roster. He looked good tonight, even in defeat. And getting to the finish of this matchup, Reed's on the outside, and of course, coming down to the aisle, Chad Gable's talking up Otis like, tonight's the night. When the time's right, you need to strike and help me win the Intercontinental Championship. Bronson Reed, a little bit of a different story than Sami Zayn. Otis winds up, hits him with a lariat at ringside, no problem. Bronson Reed, F that guy, right? That's what Otis is thinking. But Sami Zayn is a different cat. Sami Zayn, I like Sami Zayn. That's what's going through Otis's mind, and he just doesn't want to hit him. Chad Gable eventually gets pissed. He's talking, he's pushing Otis. He slapped him in the face. Otis eventually just like, F it, I'll do it. Gable picks Sami Zayn up, and as soon as he picked Sami up, you knew where it was heading. Zayn gets out of the way. Otis levels Chad Gable with a clothesline. So not necessarily, kind of like similar to the Liv and Dom thing, not necessarily a clean split and we're already where we're heading, but just in the right direction with Gable and Otis, and that split and what is to come. Bronson Reed makes his way back to the ring after just getting leveled by Otis, only to get hit by a haluva kick by Sami Zayn to retain the Intercontinental Championship, and then Gable is just pissed off, just staring down Otis with red in his eyes at ringside. So Sami Zayn, as expected, retains the Intercontinental Championship here. I wouldn't mind still kind of having Zayn and Gable in a feud in a sense, and Gable still mentioning that he wants the Intercontinental Championship and that that's the end goal, and we still link back up to that. Maybe just 2 months from now, 3 months from now, whatever it may be. But I wouldn't mind seeing Sami Zayn have a different challenger or two on the way to that. Because I think after tonight, and not that I'm breaking any ground here, but we are going to see that split between Gable and Otis and Maxine Dupree and Tozawa, all of them getting kicked to the side for Brutus, for Julius, and of course Ivy Nile, the Creed brothers, the Creed unit coming together to link up with Chad Gable. And that is going to be a hell of a group. I'm really looking forward to it. And when they are there, and when that group annihilates Otis, Tozawa, and Maxine Dupree, because I'm sure they're going to run that 6-person tag on Raw down the line, after that is when Chad Gable can link back up. And again, maybe at SummerSlam, maybe in Germany, who knows, or maybe just on an episode of Raw, Gable and Zayn run it back, and Gable finally wins the Intercontinental Championship. That is where this is obviously heading, and I'm all for it. Sometimes predictability is good, and I'm all for that predictability. I am looking forward to that unit of Gable and the Creed brothers being together, and Gable eventually winning that Intercontinental Championship that he needs to win. Or because if he doesn't, what's the point of everything we've been watching with Chad Gable? That's kind of the feather in the cap of the whole storyline. But for now, wouldn't mind seeing Sami Zayn wrestle, whoever on Monday Night Raw. I mean, Dijak hasn't been seen since he got drafted, right? I know they got probably no plans for the guy right now, and unfortunately probably just called him up just for a warm body. But hell, throw him out there on Monday Night Raw. Get a couple W's and make him earn #1 contendership. We can run Dijak and Sami, I don't know, for the Intercontinental Championship on an episode of Raw. Just one of those harmless title defenses, 1 or 2 of those until they link things back up with Chad Gable. That's what I would love to see. But a great triple threat match at King and Queen of the Ring. Sami Zayn retains the Intercontinental Championship. And then from that, we move on to the Queen of the Ring tournament finals. Nia Jax, of course, advanced on SmackDown by beating Bianca Belair. And as we knew coming in, Lyra Valkyria representing Monday Night Raw. Now, I've talked about numerous times, I was a big proponent of Lyra Valkyria winning this tournament, and then she ended up making it to the finals, and I was like, holy shit, I just fantasy booked this thing and manifested it into actually happening. I don't know. And listen, she had a great run throughout this tournament. She beat, originally, I guess, supposed to beat Asuka, but obviously Asuka went down with injury, I guess. So, Dakota Kai, Zoe Stark, the victory over Io Sky, which is a big deal for Lyra, and then comes into this matchup, and unfortunately falls short to Nia Jax. Now, I will say, not the decision I would have went with. I would have went with Lyra Valkyria, personally, but it's not all about my favorites winning, right? I need to sit here and dissect this in an unbiased way. Lyra Valkyria, even in defeat, and by the way, great finish of this matchup. Just kind of a normal, not anything special matchup, but the finish was very nice. Lyra going for the sunset flip, and Nia literally annihilating her with the Annihilator for the finish. I was like, if Lyra kicks out of that and she doesn't win this match, then I don't know, how we go from there. But it was a pretty, just devastating looking finish for the matchup. Convincing, especially for Nia Jax. But Lyra, even in defeat, I think comes out of this tournament better than she walked in to Monday Night Raw as. And that is really the end goal, right? I was pitching her to win the Queen of the Ring as a way to truly establish her on Monday Night Raw, and then, of course, as we found out, the winners of these tournaments going on to challenge for their branch championships at SummerSlam. So I was like, oh man, Lyra winning the tournament and then going on to challenge a Liv or a Becky or whoever is going to be champion at SummerSlam. You're really throwing Lyra out there. Just like, we've seen, and this is why I was such a big proponent of that. Some of the biggest stars that have ever been made are just people who maybe they weren't ready in a sense, or maybe they, were already a fan favorite, or whatever the case is, but they just got thrown to the wolves, man. Rey Mysterio, night 1, thrown to the wolves in 2002. Brock Lesnar in 2002, thrown to the wolves. Juan King of the Ring, 6 months later, after debuting, not even, is beating The Rock at SummerSlam. You know what I mean? Sometimes you just gotta throw him directly into the spotlight. And that's what I was looking at Lyra Valkyria for. And again, another reason I was a big proponent of that is because one thing, whether it's Raw or SmackDown, but the main roster women's divisions always lacking a little bit of depth. And I will say this, now more than ever, they have some depth. They have some stars. They have women who on any given day can be a legit challenger and actually be somebody the fans can take as a credible challenger to win a women's championship or to be in a main event or fill in the blank role, but you can never really have enough of those, right? And it's, again, Lyra, I think, is definitely going to be there eventually. I thought winning Queen of the Ring a way to get her there, but even in defeat, she's one step closer. And again, Liv Morgan just won the Women's World Championship. Becky and Lyra have been, side by side. Liv just punched her out. Was that this past week or 2 weeks ago on Raw backstage? Lyra's going to be involved in that story, and eventually she's going to challenge for that Women's World Championship. So although I would have liked to seen Lyra Valkyria win the Queen of the Ring, I can't really knock the decision. And talking about Nia Jax, listen, I'll be the first to say, and you guys have heard me say it in previous videos and live streams, the run that Nia's been on since she returned last September up until now, the best work of her career since NXT. Everything else in between is an absolute blur, and we can never revisit that again, and I'd be happy. But credit where credit's due. Nia's going out there, she's doing what she's got to do. She's dominating, and they're actually making Nia a lot more credible than she used to be because she's not just losing all these big-time matches. Look at her road to Queen of the Ring. Naomi, Jade, Bianca, and then she takes down the upstart, in a sense, on Raw in Lyra Valkyria. Good for her. Good for her. Somebody who just main evented with Rhea Ripley 2 months ago, or whatever, in Australia. So, good for her. Nia now goes on to challenge whoever the WWE Women's Champion is going to be at SummerSlam. I think it'll still be Bayley. And honestly, I'm not opposed to that matchup. You know, that's something they teased night one with Nia when she was drafted to SmackDown. Immediately showed up and interrupted the, was it Bayley and Naomi match or Bayley and Tiffany, whatever it was, or Naomi and Tiffany, whoever was going at it. She beat up some women in the ring, and Bayley was one of them. And not for nothing, but like Bayley and Nia Jax, I don't really remember their main roster stuff from like 2017 or whenever it was, because again, all a blur. But Bayley and Nia in NXT, I remember being half decent. So I'm down for Bayley versus Nia at SummerSlam. I'm pretty opposed. I don't really need Nia Jax winning the championship, especially when you got names like Bayley and Naomi and Tiffany and Bianca and Jade, and the list goes on SmackDown. But credit to her, Nia's done a good body of work since September, so I'm not opposed to her winning the Queen of the Ring and challenging for the title at SummerSlam. And you know what? We'll talk in August who my pick is going to be, because anything can change. Maybe something's going to be aligned where it just definitely looks like Nia's going to win the title. I don't know. But a fine matchup with an awesome finish. Lyra, I think, looks better coming out of this tournament, even in defeat. And they gave it to Nia Jax, and I really can't complain. Good stuff. Next up, we had the King of the Ring Tournament Finals. Gunther representing Monday Night Raw. And of course, as we expected, Randy Orton advancing through Tama Tonga on SmackDown to head to Saturday afternoon. Gunther versus Orton, a certified dream matchup. And as we talked about numerous times throughout the last week here on the channel, you really couldn't go wrong here between Gunther and Orton. Gunther coming in even before they revealed the bracket for this tournament. Once we knew King of the Ring was absolutely happening, it was like, all right, Gunther, he's like the top pick to win. It just made sense. It just felt fitting for Gunther, especially with Germany coming up at the end of August, for Gunther to possibly be challenging for a world title there. Now, of course, things are going to be a little bit different as we found out tonight and as we found out throughout the last few days, but that is what we all expected. But then you look at Randy Orton, he's making his way through this tournament, and everybody knows the top match on the table for Cody Rhodes, outside of running it with The Rock, is Cody versus Orton. And a lot of people would say, and I would agree, Cody versus Orton, a more intriguing match and a more intriguing story than Cody versus Rock. Maybe on paper, technically Cody versus Rock is the bigger match, and they'll save it for Vegas and WrestleMania 41 if that's the case. But Cody versus Orton is a completely different animal. That ain't just going to be a one pay-per-view matchup like Cody and AJ and Cody and Logan Paul. Like, there's some, not just some, there is a lot of meat on the bone with Cody, Orton turning heel, getting Kevin Owens involved. There is a multiple month story just waiting to be tapped into there. So with the winner of this King of the Ring tournament going on to SummerSlam, the challenge for their brand's world championship, it made it that much more unpredictable that Randy Orton could be winning this match and going on to challenge for the WWE title at SummerSlam, which I still think he very well may do. But then let's look at the King of the Ring matchup. Gunther versus Orton, again, certified dream match. No doubt about it. Crowd was into it all the way through, and it was a great matchup, man. It was my kind of wrestling. It's just some great storytelling wrestling with Randy Orton. He's been selling his knee throughout this entire tournament. Who did he beat in the AJ Styles in the first round? Ever since that matchup with Styles, he has been selling that knee through the matchup with Carmelo Hayes, Tama Tonga, Gunther. That knee has been a problem for Orton this entire time, and it played into the finish of tonight's match, which overall was a great matchup. But as you guys know, I'm not really your move-by-move breakdown guy. We get to the final moments. Orton hits an RKO on Gunther, climbs into, this is his second RKO in the matchup, mind you, which Gunther was able to escape out of the ring, so there wasn't necessarily a kick out from that one. But Orton climbs over, unable to put all the pressure on the pinfall because his knee is jacked up. As we just talked about, he's been struggling with it for 4 weeks now throughout this tournament, 4 matches at least. Unable to put all the pressure on the pin. Gunther kicks out by attacking the knee, and then I love this finish. Came out of nowhere, unexpected for a guy like Gunther, and not that it really mattered because Randy Orton's Randy Orton, but if you want to play that card, yeah, Randy Orton doesn't look bad in defeat even more now. Not that he would have if Gunther like powerbombed him to oblivion because he's fucking Randy Orton. He can wake up tomorrow and win the WWE title. He's reached that point in his career. But Gunther kicks out, goes after the knee, and then quickly crucifix pins Randy and gets the 3 count, and Gunther wins King of the Ring. And the whole time you're kind of looking at it and you're like, was Orton's shoulder up, and was that a mess up there, or was that on purpose? They didn't really specify for a second. Nobody mentioned it until they're showing the replay, different camera angle, And Corey Graves is like, can we see that again? And then we didn't see it again, but Orton's shoulder looked like it may have been up on the pinfall. Now, that was the last time. It wasn't something they super dived into. They let Gunther have his moment, winning King of the Ring. Very much, deserved, very much earned, and will go on to challenge for the World Heavyweight Championship at SummerSlam, which, as was confirmed tonight, we do have Damian Priest and Drew McIntyre for the World Heavyweight Championship coming up in 3 weeks' time in Glasgow, Scotland at Clash of the Castle, which is going to be a very interesting matchup. Can absolutely go either way. But Gunther's going on to SummerSlam, and very well, I should say, may win the World Heavyweight Championship. I think Gunther was already a guy, and I even talked about it numerous times throughout this week, already a guy a lot of people were looking at to win the world title in Germany and Bash in Berlin at the end of August. But now, SummerSlam, Gunther challenger for the championship, may be going into Germany as the champion. And in my opinion, even though I think Priest and McIntyre can go either way, maybe leaning towards Damian Priest. I can very much see Punk getting involved. I know we're in Glasgow, Scotland. Listen, and my pick could change. We're talking about this 3 weeks out, and we've talked about it numerous times, but I could see Priest and Gunther at SummerSlam, and Gunther going in to Germany as the defending world champion. That we're going to talk about that, I'm sure, a ton. Plenty to break down there. Happy to see Gunther overall. As I mentioned earlier this week, it could have went either way, but it's more of a feather in the cap for Gunther at this stage in his career, when he still has so much to accomplish to win King of the Ring, opposed to Randy Orton. Even though it would have been fine, and I think a lot of other people probably would have been fine, maybe, Twitter's a cesspool, but a lot of people like me probably would have been fine with Orton winning King of the Ring. But again, going back to Randy Orton, whether they're going to play on the fact that his shoulder may have been up or not is a whole situation there, and maybe not a deep one. But even in defeat, Randy's still top class to go and fight Cody for the WWE title at SummerSlam. Unless they're doing Cody and Rock at SummerSlam, but there's been no rumors of that. And that's most likely where we're heading in Vegas next April. We still got Clash of the Castle. I think there's a chance Cody's not even going to defend the title on that show. It's 3 weeks away. They have their main event, Priest and McIntyre. It's McIntyre's place. Let him have his night. Cody will still be there for SmackDown the night before. I don't think Cody's going to defend that title, most likely at Clash of the Castle, so we can get a long build towards Money in the Bank in his next defense. And maybe that's going to have something to do with Kevin Owens and Randy Orton, or maybe even Solo Sikoa, like we talked about in the previous video here on the channel, which could tie in Kevin Owens and Randy Orton. And then Randy Orton and Cody Rhodes. Look out for that for SummerSlam. I am very much excited to see where that is going to head. But Gunther wins King of the Ring. We might as well go roll right in to our WWE Championship main event. Cody Rhodes defending the WWE Championship against the United States Champion Logan Paul. As expected, I don't think anybody in the world was picking Logan Paul to win this matchup, and at no point in the matchup was I worried that they were going to give the title to Logan Paul. Not that I really care, because down the line, I'm all for a Logan Paul title reign, but there wasn't really any point in this matchup where I was like, oh shit, Logan Paul's going to win the title, because I think we're all in the same mindset that Cody's not losing this championship. I don't care who you are. If you are God himself, Cody Rhodes ain't losing this title anytime soon. Post WrestleMania 41, we can start talking about Cody losing the title. Most likely, maybe some, I don't know, where the whole conversation, but Cody's not losing that title anytime soon, right? So coming into this matchup, I think all we were expecting, or all we were looking for is, is it going to be a great matchup, which obviously it was a banger. No, I don't think anybody was questioning that. And two, were they going to go about any screwy finishes here with Logan Paul being the United States champion and maybe trying to protect him in defeat? I don't really know if that's how you would say that's how the finish went, but after close to a 30-minute banger with Cody Rhodes and Logan Paul, and Logan throwing everything he had at Cody, putting him through the announce table, using the brass knucks even though he said he wasn't going to. At one point, we get to this near the ending moments, if I can get it out, of this matchup. Referee goes down. Logan's going to use the brass knucks again, and I'm thinking LA Knight, who they showed is sitting at ringside for this matchup, was going to hop the guardrail and take the brass knucks, and boom, we are going to have our seeds. Well, I guess they've already been planted, but truly have our next step in build towards LA Knight and Logan Paul for the United States Championship at SummerSlam, which I think is most likely where we're going to be heading. But that didn't happen. The Saudi guy who did the special ring announcing for this matchup, distracted Logan Paul for a second. I could have went without it. I would have went the LA Knight route, but of course, you know, WWE's going to cave to Saudi a little bit. It is what it is. He distracted Logan Paul for a second, and then Cody Rhodes obliterated him into oblivion with 3 crossroads. You know, when Cody's pulling out the super finisher that he used to beat Roman Reigns, you know Logan Paul was pretty much dead in the water from there, and Cody Rhodes retains the WWE Championship. Again, all we were looking for coming into this matchup was, is it going to be a banger? And of course it was. And was there going to be any screwy finishes? And not really. All it was Logan throwing everything he had at Cody throughout the matchup. Cody surviving it all, wanting to be an honorable champion and beat Logan in the middle of the ring, which I like that aspect. Logan Paul's about to get counted out. Cody stopped it. He said, nah, he needs to learn a lesson. I loved it. And then Cody beats his ass with 3 crossroads and retains the WWE Championship. So, great matchup here. I'm looking forward to seeing what's next. Like I said, Cody's pretty much had a clean slate. You know, he was at a clean slate after Backlash. They gave him Logan Paul. I think a lot of it had to do with, listen, it's Saudi. They want their biggest stars they have. A lot of the big stars obviously out right now. Cody and Logan Paul going at it in the main event. That's something you could sell on a Saudi show. You know, WWE's got that little bit of star power mixed with Saudi aspect. So I think that's a big reason why we got this matchup to begin with. But now that Cody got through Logan Paul, as we expected, what's next for Cody Rhodes? He's at a clean slate. As I already mentioned, I'm not going to dive too deep into it again. I don't expect him to defend the championship in 3 weeks at Clash of the Castle. You know, there's no reason to rush crowning a #1 contender. Rush getting Cody Rhodes somebody to face who we know he's going to beat. Which, I mean, you could say that about, you know, anything, really, but I get that. You guys know what I'm saying. Cody's, they already have their McIntyre and Priest matchup. They got it. Cody can wrestle on SmackDown the night before, and Glasgow can still see the champ. I'm looking for who's going to be next in line for Money in the Bank come July in Toronto. I very much think it could be Solo Sikoa. A great way to involve Kevin Owens and Randy Orton, which then involves Orton and Cody, which I think is going to be the match for SummerSlam. So, I'm looking forward to seeing what's next for Cody Rhodes on SmackDown. Great main event tonight. Overall, solid show. The triple threat match, Gunther and Orton, Cody and Logan Paul. All great stuff. The women's matches were okay. Is what it is, though. I mean, it was more the results that I'm more interested in and where we go from here. But overall, a solid King and Queen of the Ring show. And we're going to be pretty much right back at it. 3 weeks from now, we got Clash of the Castle. And then, I don't know, is it only 3 weeks after that we get Money in the Bank, or do we have a 4-week build? Either way, lot to look forward to in the coming weeks as we head towards SummerSlam, which is already beginning to take shape after tonight. So let me know down below in the comments, what did you guys think of the King and Queen of the Ring, and who do you guys think will be next for Cody Rhodes to defend his WWE Championship against? Also, leave that down below in the comments. And while you're down there, if you're not subscribed, hit subscribe. We are on the road to 10,000 subscribers. I want to hit that as soon as possible. So help me hit that goal. If you are not subscribed, hit subscribe down below. Drop a like as well. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Plenty of more content to come. We will be talking over the next week over some matches that I think may go down at SummerSlam. And I also want to talk about some potential Money in the Bank winners. So stay tuned to the channel. Those videos are coming within the next week. Hope you guys enjoyed this one. I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.